Mr. Cooper takes this next question first. How can you improve organ donation?
Well, I think really it boils down to educating people to do so. You know, people don't really necessarily understand, you know, what it means, what it's about, and I think to put together programs where you bring people that have had organ donation or family members, you know, it's really all about educating the public so that they better understand what it is, and it's a huge benefit. It's something that's very, very beneficial for many, many people.
Thank you. Mr. Rudd?
Ditto on that. One important reason, pardon me, to have a medical person in the coroner's office is when you have to decide whether an autopsy has to be done first before organs are donated. So you need somebody that can understand the cause and manner of death and whether an autopsy should be performed, and then go ahead with the organ donation. But I agree, it's education.
Thank you. Mr. Yancey, and also could I just ask everyone, be sure you pass the mic along and speak right into it since we're being recorded with a pretty small recording device in the back. Thank you.
Could you repeat the question, please?
Sure. How can you improve organ donation?
Oh, since my tenure at the coroner's office, we've done just that. We began to work very closely with the Gift of Hope organization to make it more better, or to offer more means for them to retrieve and take those donations by having a better working relationship with the coroner's office. The opponent has just said that knowing whether to be able to make an autopsy, a decision on an autopsy, that's a common sense answer. You know that if prior to any organ donation, you would have to perform the autopsy and get that out of the way first for prosecutorial purposes and other means. So for him to say that it would take a doctor to understand whether or not to have an autopsy is incorrect.
Thank you. Mr. Newton.
I believe that working with organizations such as the Gift of Hope is a step in the right direction. But furthermore, promoting your relationship, the coroner's office, your relationship with the Gift of Hope, and offering opportunities to the general public, awareness opportunities at different venues. Some of the things that go on throughout the summer in the county, where people are allowed to go and set up booths, some of the fair festivals and things like that. I've had the opportunity in the past to work with the Gift of Hope in doing awareness, things of that nature, in those types of settings. And I think getting the word out there is the biggest hurdle when it comes to the information.
Thank you. Mr. Rudd takes our next question first. Is the coroner's office doing enough in terms of domestic violence outreach and suicide prevention? Please explain.
I think education is the #1 goal in pursuing anything that has to do with a death that is not natural. I think we need to do outreach programs. We need to hit the high schools. We need to have online as much education that can be accessed from the web. We need to do as much as we can to prevent preventable deaths.
Thank you. Mr. Yancey.
I do agree with that, and that is exactly over the last 9 months what the coroner's office has been doing. We started shortly after I took over our Preventable Tragedy series, where we have looked at the spikes in deaths that occur in Lake County, and we've done numerous PSAs, public service announcements, on those topics, such as suicides, such as layover baby deaths, distracted driving. We have done all of that. We reach out on a consistent basis with the high schools during prom season. We send our deputies out to speak on the ills of drinking and driving, that sort of thing, so that we can prevent those tragedies from occurring. Because when we lose a young person or anyone out of our community, it's not just a tragedy for that family, it's a tragedy for the entire community.
Thank you. Mr. Newton?
I feel education probably isn't the word I want to use. It should be more of an awareness. Making the public aware, and the coroner through his series is doing that currently. I watch them, I agree with them. I think it's a great outreach tool. And I think more opportunities for outreach like that need to be explored, not just limiting it to the website or not just limiting it to LCTV, but partnerships with some of the other organizations that are out there that we've had partnerships with in the past that discuss suicide, that discuss drinking and driving. I think those partnerships, put those together with what the coroner's office is currently doing and enhance upon that, I think we see tremendous effort countywide.
Thank you. Mr. Cooper?
Can you repeat the question, please?
I have to stop tucking them away after I read them.
Well, after three people, I just want to make sure exactly.
Here we go. Is the coroner's office doing enough in terms of domestic violence outreach and suicide prevention? Please explain.
I think the coroner's office has started to do that. I know that I've seen the videos that are on the internet, and I know there is outreach to the community. As I stated in my opening, to me, getting into the schools, talking to the kids about suicide, certainly, but there's many, many more topics, which I discussed earlier. We really need to. I have 5 children. I talk to my kids all the time about these things. I think that educating them is very, very important. I also believe that educating the parents is very important. In this day and age, unfortunately, parents have decided that their kids are their friends, and they're not parents anymore. And I think that that's a really huge problem, and I think we need to explain to the parents what is going on in our schools, what is going on with bullying, why kids are committing suicide. It's a huge issue, and the coroner's office should be involved.
Thank you. Mr. Yancey will take this next question first. On the coroner's webpage is a sentence. Let those responsible for death investigations take heed. They labor not only for the state, but also for God. Is that appropriate for the county's website? Why or why not?
I think that the 9 months that I've been in the coroner, that it's really become aware to me that we deal in the human condition. There are so many times where people throw the label of compassion or use of compassion, but I have found that when you're talking with a parent who's lost a child, you're talking with a child who's lost a parent, compassion is an utmost need for that person. And so we do a lot of work that deal with the human condition, and that it is appropriate for our particular work.
Thank you. Mr. Newton?
I would agree with Coroner Yancey on exactly what he said, just adding in that you have to realize the coroner's role from the bottom up at that point in time. You're dealing with people at the worst possible times of their life. They've just lost someone, be it a son, a daughter, a mother, or father, and they need the comfort, or some comfort, that can come from a statement like that. And I believe the coroner's office has put that out there in that light, that they're dealing with people in the worst possible times of their life.
Thank you. Mr. Cooper?
I would agree with both the previous statements. It's, certainly whenever you're dealing with death, and when I was, talking with people when I was in New York at 9/11, or people down in New Orleans, these are horrible, horrible times for these people. And I think that, we need to be compassionate, and we need to understand that. And, there's really no way to explain to anybody, what it's like talking to somebody after one of their loved ones has been killed or has died. It's just something that, you know, you can't really explain it, but it's just something that we do, and compassion really is the only word that I can say to make you understand, but it's, I agree with the statement.
Thank you. Mr. Rudd?
Makes it sound like the question was whether or not the word God in a position of, or should be placed in a office or a government office is what I was hearing when you asked the question. So I will pass on that. I don't think that personally it was an appropriate question. I agree with Coroner Yancey in putting that statement in. I see nothing wrong with it.
Thank you. Mr. Newton, and let me remind everyone on the panel, if you turn to talk to me, your mouth goes away. So I don't even vote here. So talk to your holders out there. And Mr. Newton takes this question first. What are your top 2 priorities for improvements in the office?
My 2 priorities for improvements in the office would be the service provided to the constituents of this county. I've unfortunately heard over the course of the past few months that there is a lack of responses from the office, and I don't know what that stems from. But as coroner, I would definitely be devoted to ensuring that the service, the level of services is provided to not only the citizens of this community, but the funeral homes in this community and the police and fire departments in this community would be top-notch. Secondly, continuing on with the education efforts, or the awareness, as I like to call it, efforts, throughout the county. I would like to move those forward. Partnerships with different organizations throughout the county, I believe, is definitely needed to just reach more people with the message.
Thank you. Mr. Cooper?
You know, I think going without saying, the priority certainly is to the citizens of Lake County in treating them with respect and compassion. My 2 biggest issues that I think are very important would be getting into the schools and educating our kids, educating the parents for all the issues that I've discussed prior. And then the other issue is getting all our medical investigators certification status and making sure that they take continuing education yearly. I know that I personally go to the American Academy of Forensic Science meetings every year, and I do not see our Lake County deputies there. This is probably the premier organization in the United States, if not the world, and, you know, the meetings there, the education there is top-notch. We need to get everybody up to, you know, the level that it should be in the office and make sure that they're continuing their education so they can actually learn and do the outside or do the investigation properly.
Thank you. Mr. Rudd?
Repeating myself again, we will be certified by the National Association of Medical Examiners. This is the premier certified group in the nation. I will prove that to the citizens of the county that the office is working correctly. And as the last speaker said, also to make sure that the individual death investigators are certified by the American Board of Medical Legal Death Investigation. Also, we should use innovative technology with the computer within the office. We can link with National Institute, just link with National Association of Medical Examiners, which is not only a credentialing agency, but an educational agency. We can link with the CDC. People that belong to NAME can actually, if they have a problem, write into them, and they'll help you out. Now, obviously, you maintain privacy. Same thing with the NIJ. These agencies, pardon me, can also do webinars and teaching within the office.
Thank you. Mr. Yancey?
Taken over 9 months ago. In that short period of time, we saw how there was far more than just 2 things that needed to be taken care of at the coroner's office. We have revamped evidence and property collection. We have offered uniforms for our deputies for a more professional role. We have utilized a new computerized tracking system for case management. All of these within just a short period of time. We have constructed a viewing room for loved ones to come and view the deceased over a secure camera. We have started the preventable tragedies. We have approached zero backlog for deceased that existed back to as far back as 2008. We are in the process of fiscal responsibility where we're using tax dollars inside Lake County to keep Lake County to work.
Thank you. Mr. Cooper takes the next question first. Do coroner's deputies currently act as law enforcement officers? Please comment.
Well, I think anybody working for the office is still considered a law enforcement officer, and they're doing the investigation. But there's a difference between, them as police officers and them as, the coroner's office people. So they're working with the police, but certainly our investigation is our investigation. And whatever our results are then would be given to the actual police departments, wherever it may be in the county, and then they would then utilize that information if they need to be.
Thank you. Mr. Rudd.
As I understand it, they are law enforcement, but they're limited to the decedent and the immediate area. So that's what they are in charge of. The police, on the other hand, handle the entire area. So yes, they are law enforcement. And just for information's sake, if, for instance, the sheriff was to be incapacitated, technically, I believe in the law, you would be allowed to take over. The coroner would substitute. That's happened the other way around. McKellar stepped down, the sheriff came. But yes, they are law enforcement, and they work with the decedent. That's their control.
Thank you. Mr. Yancey?
If that is exactly correct, they are law enforcement officers. However, because of the type of work they do, there has to be protocols put in place to understand that what our mission as coroner's deputies entail. We have put those protocols into place, and we are functioning as a coroner's deputy should since my taking up the office.
Thank you. Anything to add, Mr. Newton?
I couldn't have said it better myself.
So we are at wrap. Each of the candidates has 1.5 minutes. We're doing it in exact reverse order from the opening statements. So Mr. Cooper will begin, then Mr. Newton, Mr. Yancey, and closing with Mr. Rudd. Mr. Cooper.
Well, first, again, just thank you very much for having me here and for having this forum. It's really great for the voters to get a chance to listen to all of us and what our views are and really make an educated decision when they're in the voting booth, which is really what our country's about. I think you've heard a lot of what my views are. I think I just want to touch base one more time and say that education to me is first and foremost. I think that educating our kids is huge, educating the parents is huge. I've been doing education and talking to kids for well over 12 years now at the school level, and I've been lecturing across the country for longer than that. I've been involved in forensics for over 20 years. I'm still currently on a weapons of mass destruction team for the federal government. I think that my background in forensics is very beneficial. I think my background in dentistry is very beneficial from the standpoint of I work with coroners and medical examiners, and I'm very aware of what this does. I also think that it's imperative that we get into the office and we get the investigators to get schooled a little bit further than they are now and up to speed and make sure that they get continuing education. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Newton.
I like what I said, thanking you for spending your afternoon with us. It's not often, sometimes it's not often that we get out to speak to people in a nice forum like this, so thank you very much for being with us. As you leave today, you take away with you what we've said, the four of us as individuals and the four of us with different experiences in life. Remember that I started off in the medical field. I started off as, I started off as a paramedic. I moved into the coroner's office, where I worked for 7 years. I'm the only one sitting at this table right now that has done the job of the investigator. I know what they're going to. I know how they operate. And in addition to that, I've also been in charge of the administrative responsibilities of that office. I ask that you take a close look at all four of us and do your duty as voters throughout the county and make the best decision possible. Thank you again for coming.
Thank you. Mr. Rudd.
I've been a physician for 33 years and a pathologist, and in that time span, I averaged 100 cases a day in which I made a diagnosis on a patient. I covered 750,000 cases over 30 years. During that time, I talked to many a patient. Initially, with the first cancer diagnosis, where I held their hand, watched them cry, was able to offer some hope because initially in the beginning you can. Some of these patients back to me 10, 12, 14 years later. This time the cancer has progressed so badly there was very little hope I could offer. And yes, some of these patients, I ended up doing autopsies on and had to talk to their family, relatives, and friends and tell them we did everything possible. So if an unfortunate event occurs and the coroner's car pulls up to your door, who do you want to see walking up those steps? A physician who has comforted and cared for patients, or law enforcement?
Thank you. I'd like a really nice round of applause for it. Oh, I'm sorry. We reverse skipped you. I didn't do that. Sorry.
I think the true question here today is, how do you want your coroner's office to progress from this point forward? Over the last 9 months, we, as a team, the coroner's office, not just our agency, but as a team, all people that work there with me, we have turned that office into an office that, instead of being categorized as a ship out of control by other law enforcement, that it is now where we receive calls from other coroner's offices asking us about the initiatives that we're doing. We have progressed to such a point in such a short period of time that you, as Lake County citizens, should be very proud of the office that we've done, what we've done. The people that work there are hardworking, intelligent investigators and assistants with high skill sets that has turned that office into a great place to work. And I am so proud of the people that work with me in the coroner's office. We have, in such a short period of time, taken that office to new heights. And I think that the voters of Lake County will want that progress to continue. Thank you.
Well, my apologies for getting them out of order. I've got this baseball card-like thing here, so I can do it. And I'm pretty sure I have not gotten through a debate of a full day without calling on somebody out of order, so my apologies. But big round of applause for your excellent candidates. We will reconvene for State's Attorney at as close to 3:35 as we can, so please grab these guys when they're out there so you can ask any other questions that you might have.